I have a childhood engagement with Oscar. For the sake of this overwhelming fortune, I willingly became a simp. During the 5th year of following behind him, he finally agreed to get engaged to me. The condition was that we'd both play our own games and mind our own business. Oscar wrapped his arm around his new fling and said playfully, "Anyway, marriages among wealthy families are all like this. You don't mind, right?" I froze for a moment, showing hesitation. I'm actually quite tempted. But your brother doesn't seem to agree. Chapter 1. For the 5 years that I've been Oscar's simp, I've cooked for him, made soup, covered for his puppy love and checked on him for others. I've bought medicine, washed clothes, acted as nanny and chauffeur. Come wind or rain, no one has ever been more dedicated to the job than I have. Like now, cold wind howls across the racing track at dawn. I'm wearing a thin white dress, my face drained of color, yet still quietly waiting on the side. The explosive roar grows closer and closer. That flashy black race car dashes ahead of all others and stops in front of me. Only then do the shadows of other cars appear behind. Oscar removes his helmet and glances at me indifferently. Then he pulls out a beautiful race queen girl. When he looks at her, his brows relax, his side profile soft and gentle. The sight stabs my eyes. My eyes turn red as I force a smile and go forward to greet him. I open the thermos, letting the steam of chicken soup rise. "Oscar, I brought you some soup. Have a little, so you don't catch a cold." The woman holding his arm lets out a mocking laugh. "Oscar, your childhood sweetheart's tricks are way too outdated. Chicken soup again?" She's not tired of giving it, but I'm tired of watching you drink it. Can't she switch it up? He holds her slim waist and looks at me with a lazy smirk. "Julia, didn't I tell you not to come?" Humiliated, I lower my head and bite my lip lightly. "Auntie was worried about you. She asked me to bring you home." Annoyance flashes across Oscar's eyes. "I'm not going home tonight. You can leave. And don't bring this stuff again. Emma doesn't like it." The woman named Emma tosses the helmet in her hand, her lips curling in victory. "Bye now, little childhood sweetheart." Oscar's buddies walk up. After witnessing everything, their gazes toward me grow complicated and sympathetic. Tears instantly fall. I turn away in embarrassment, my frail body nearly blown away by the wind. Oscar watches my back and instinctively takes a step forward, but Emma pulls him away. "Come on, we're going drinking." His gang surrounds them, chatting noisily. "Oscar, you're really cold-hearted. Aren't you afraid your little sweetheart will get disappointed and really leave?" He lets out a casual laugh. I honestly wish she'd stop bothering me. Everyone bursts into laughter. Sigh. She gave up being a pampered princess just to be a simp. No idea what she's even trying to get out of it. No one sees that the moment I turn around, I hide all my sadness. Only cold professionalism remains on my face. Chapter 2. That question hit the nail on the head. Why would a rich young lady degrade herself to become his simp? Because I'm a fake. Before I turned 17, I truly was a proud, pampered heiress. Until my mom got pregnant with my little brother. I accidentally overheard my parents' conversation. "We've raised her for so many years. She should repay us somehow." My mom sighed with red eyes. If only back then, the vague conversation set off alarms in my mind. I remembered classmates joking, "You don't look anything like your parents." I secretly did a DNA test. Well, damn, I really wasn't their biological child. They didn't tell me the truth, and I pretended not to know. But I could feel their affection and resources gradually withdrawing. Even when Oscar and I quarreled, my dad forced me to apologize. I couldn't believe it and demanded to know why. After all, Oscar was clearly in the wrong. For the first time, my dad slapped me. His tone was ice cold. "Oscar has a childhood engagement with you arranged by his grandfather. He'll be your future marriage partner. You must maintain a good relationship with him. Our family has given you a privileged life. You have no right to be willful." From that moment on, I understood everything. They adopted me so I could replace their deceased biological daughter in the alliance marriage. Mom had damaged her health earlier. The doctor had said she might never conceive again. This little brother was a miracle, and my fate as a chess piece was sealed. Since my parents wanted to use me to pave the way for my brother and the family, then I needed to consider my own options too. On the surface, I appeared more and more passionate toward Oscar. In secret, I quietly transferred assets and sought other escape routes. And it turns out I was right. To men, the unattainable is always the most desirable. Back when I ignored Oscar, he tried every way to get my attention. But once I started responding, his sense of superiority skyrocketed. Pinning your hopes on a single man is suicide. Pinning your hopes on a dozen is something else entirely. These years, publicly I chased after Oscar. Privately, I quietly made contact with his buddies, evaluating each one of them and their families for future potential. Several men are already trying to court me. Oscar's the only fool still completely clueless. Chapter 3. After walking out of the racetrack, my WeChat immediately filled with a few comforting messages from his so-called bros. I replied with a blank expression while preparing to throw the thermos in my hand into the trash bin. The next second, a long-fingered hand reached from behind and took the thermos away. Startled, I turned around, only to see someone completely unexpected. Bruno. He naturally took off the dark gray coat on him and draped it over my shoulders. The warmth seeped in, making me freeze for a moment. His clear, cool voice pulled me back to reality. It's already late autumn. You're dressed too lightly. Thanks? You're welcome. A gust of cold wind blew past. I instinctively tightened the coat and lifted my eyes to look at him. Bruno's features resembled Oscar's by about 50%, but his temperament was entirely different. One was rebellious and untamed. The other was a high mountain flower, cold, distant, unattainable. To be honest, I appreciated Bruno's calm and aloof type much more. Besides, among all the potential candidates I had interacted with, he was the most promising one. Because his family's company was the biggest leading corporation in Jiangqing, the current general manager was Oscar's father. This was also why my dad valued this childhood engagement so much. Logically speaking, Oscar should be the next heir, but he was uneducated, disobedient, repeatedly angering his grandfather to the point of smashing cups. In contrast, Bruno managed to revive an overseas subsidiary that had been losing money for years within only 2 years. The situation was still unclear, but the old man should start considering what was best for the family. Thinking of this, my gaze toward him unconsciously softened with some satisfaction. Bruno's expression turned slightly odd for a moment. Should I take you home? My brows moved gently. This was a perfect opportunity to test the waters, so I pretended to look wronged and said softly, I don't want to go home for now. He looked at me quietly for 2 seconds, then said in an ordinary, calm tone, then let's go to my place first. In my heart, I let out a whistle. Nice move, brother. Chapter 4. The temperature inside the car was my favorite, 26 degrees. After adjusting the seat back to a comfortable angle, the car speakers started playing the song I had posted on my Moments a few days ago. Surprised, I lifted my eyes to look at him. The warm yellow lighting in the car softened his features. Our gazes met. He curled his lips slightly. Nice song. My heart skipped a beat, and I suddenly remembered that night 3 years ago. Back then, I still couldn't control my emotions well. After being angered by Oscar yet again, I ran to a bar with a stomach full of resentment and drowned my sorrows in alcohol. It was Bruno who found me. In truth, I didn't have much interaction with him. He was a year older than us, and at most would call Oscar bro along with the others. But he seemed somewhat distant toward me, so I couldn't be bothered to warm a cold face with my enthusiasm. He asked me, do you really like Oscar that much? I didn't think too deeply about the meaning behind his question. I just yelled angrily, like Oscar? Even a dog would want to pee on him after hearing that. He was silent for 2 seconds. Then why do you still go looking for him? I snapped back without hesitation. Because he's the family heir. If you were capable enough to push him out of the position, then I'd go after you instead. That night, for some reason, I just couldn't suppress the fire in my chest. I wanted to say more, but he covered my mouth and carried me away in his arms. The next day, I was devastated. I was terrified he would tattle to Grandpa. I watched his expression nervously, preparing words to apologize. But he looked straight at me, and suddenly he laughed. Julia, I mean what I say. Afterward, he went abroad, but he returned like a dark horse breaking through obstacles, becoming the top candidate everyone in Jiangqing wanted to bet on. These years, he and I hadn't interacted intimately. At most we exchanged greetings during holidays. but putting together what he said 3 years ago and what he did today, I could roughly guess it. Maybe he likes me? I couldn't help curling my lips up. Truly, light appears at the end of every dark path. I, Julia, was born destined for wealth. Chapter 5. Bruno brought me to a large flat. The interior design was a minimalist light luxury style in shades of gray and white, exactly my taste. He naturally poured the chicken soup from the thermos into a bowl and placed it in front of me. Drink some. It's still hot. My brow twitched, and I tried to stop him. Don't drink that. It's something someone else didn't want. He lifted the bowl and drank it all in one go, not even frowning. It's good. If he didn't want it, that just means he has no taste. Feeling guilty, I shifted my gaze away. Better not tell him it was actually dish rinse water. Ahem, where am I sleeping tonight? He pointed to a spot. I walked inside, but my eyes were immediately drawn to a diamond-studded hair clip on the bedside table. Wasn't this the hair clip I lost during PE class in high school? With a strange feeling in my chest, I pulled open the lower drawer, and the corner of my mouth twitched. Sure enough, there was a brown notebook that looked suspiciously like a diary. I guessed it probably contained years of secret crush notes about me. I rolled my eyes lightly. If he didn't place this here on purpose, I'd eat it. When I opened it, every page was filled with my photos. A collage of everything I had posted on Moments through the years. Below them was a line written in fountain pen, French, unreadable. Just as I was about to scan and translate it, the guest room door was knocked. I left your toiletries in the bathroom. I jolted and turned around abruptly. The hair clip conveniently slipped out of my hand and fell to the floor. Bruno saw the notebook in my hands. In his eyes appeared 3 parts panic, 3 parts helplessness, and 4 parts stiffness. Excellent acting. I refused to be outdone, so I quietly pinched my thigh hard. My eyes instantly turned red. Bruno, so you've liked me for so long. He walked over in silence. Sorry, I never wanted to make things difficult for you. I shook my head tearfully. All these years I've been following behind someone else, but I never thought that. The words didn't need to be finished. The listener would fill in the blanks themselves. Bruno raised his eyes. My reflection lay in the deep brown of his gaze. Restrained yet sincere. Julia, I've always been here. My eyelid twitched. Bro, you're going too fast. At least wait until Grandpa officially names you the heir. I lowered my eyes. Bruno, give me some time, okay? Bruno's expression softened. He casually revealed, next week, Grandpa will appoint me as vice president of the group. I almost laughed out loud but kept a worried expression. Then, what about my childhood engagement with Oscar? I'll have Grandpa dissolve it. I acted deeply moved. I've thought it over. Let's be together. And just like that, a couple with 800 hidden agendas was officially formed. Chapter 6. After confirming our relationship, I was in a great mood, because he truly understood my preferences and habits down to every detail. The entire set of luxury skincare and makeup products he prepared for me were exactly the ones I usually used. Before I even said anything, someone delivered over 10 outfits that matched my aesthetic perfectly. What surprised me even more was that he even knew I needed an iced Americano first thing in the morning. He grasped my dietary dislikes and preferences flawlessly. I grew increasingly satisfied with him. People really are compared through contrast. If Oscar had been this thoughtful and decent, I wouldn't have rejected this childhood engagement. Marrying him wouldn't have been impossible. After all, I don't care whether my husband loves me or not. I only care whether I can live well materially. Since I grew up using nothing but luxury brands, even a pair of socks cost several hundred yuan. After learning the truth about my birth, I once ran away from home to test my parents' attitude toward me. In the end, they simply froze my card, and I immediately behaved. Going from luxury to frugality isn't just difficult for me, it's hell. I cannot live a poor life, not even a little, so I will never go against my family. I was even willing to swallow my pride to please Oscar for 5 whole years. Oh wait, no, I didn't have any pride left. We're here. Bruno stopped the car at my doorstep. He was about to get out and open the door for me, but I stopped him in time. I hesitated before saying, why don't we keep it a secret for now? When things stabilize later, we can make it public. He should be able to understand the underlying meaning. Right now is not the right time to change the situation. He nodded. I understand. But then he lowered his eyes, revealing a faint look of sadness. What was that about? I curled my lips. Fine, since he's being so obedient, I'll give him a little reward. I held his face gently and kissed the corner of his lips softly. His eyelashes trembled, and his gaze instantly darkened. The next second, Bruno reversed the roles. He cupped the back of my neck and deepened the kiss. At that moment, the car window was knocked on. Oscar's voice came from outside. Bro? Chapter 7. I jolted and accidentally bit his lower lip, the bright red color spreading instantly. Bruno didn't move. His deep gaze seemed to swirl with a suppressed storm. I slowly wiped the blood from his lip, signaled him with my eyes not to say anything, and only then got out of the car. Oscar saw that it was me and looked surprised, his brows faintly knitting together. Julia? Why are you in my brother's car? Sadness lingered between my brows. I pressed my lips together and walked past him without saying a word. Oscar's gaze flickered, but in the end he didn't say anything. He opened Bruno's car door. Bro, didn't you just return to the country? Why are you with Julia? Bruno replied calmly. Went to a bar to meet a few friends. Saw her drinking alone, so I sent her back. 2 seconds of silence passed before Oscar sighed. Seriously? Getting this upset over such a small matter that she had to go drink? Anyway, thanks, bro. Bruno seemed to let out a faint laugh. What are you thanking me for? Well, Julia went drinking because of me. If something happened, it'd be hard to explain. Heh, you really love flattering yourself. It's the truth. Hearing this, I rolled my eyes and quickened my pace. As soon as I walked in the door, my mom bombarded me. Didn't I tell you to go find Oscar? Where were you the whole night? I hid the mockery in my eyes and showed my usual expression of grievance and indignation. He let his girlfriend mock me. I couldn't take it. My mom's expression shifted slightly, but she quickly adjusted and softened her tone. Julia, Oscar still cares about you. Otherwise, why would he come here early in the morning to find you? He panicked when he didn't see you. She pulled me to sit down and earnestly advised. Don't worry, boys are just curious about new things. Once you get married, he'll settle down. Your dad said it's about time to finalize your engagement. For the sake of our family, you must win his heart. You absolutely can't start throwing little tantrums at such a critical time. A cold laugh sounded in my heart. So this is all I'm worth? On the outside, I let out a dramatic sigh. If not for our family, I wouldn't put up with him at all. My mom finally lit up with joy. That's the good daughter your father and I raised. My eyes flickered. I wrapped my arm around her and acted spoiled. Mom, chasing Oscar is expensive. I also have to buy off his buddies. And it's only the beginning of the month. I'm already out of money. My mom didn't even blink. If you're out, I'll give you more. We can't let anyone look down on our family. And Oscar likes girls who play racing now. How about I give you more money so you can go learn? My mom willingly gave me another $5 million. Using Oscar as an excuse works every time. In a way, he's also my god of wealth. It's only right that I show a little filial piety. Chapter 8. After returning to my room, I saw the messages Oscar sent at 8 in the morning. You're not home? Where did you go? I didn't reply. Just thinking about how I no longer had to pretend with him made me feel great. I hummed a tune, took another shower, carefully did my skincare routine, applied body lotion, and finally went back to sleep peacefully. Bruno took care of me very well. The only issue was that I wasn't used to sleeping in a new bed. Looks like I'll have to sleep there a few more times to get used to it. While I was fast asleep, completely unaware, the balance of power in Oscar's family finally shifted. When the two brothers returned to the old residence, Oscar was immediately struck by his grandfather's cane, eyes wide with fury. Where did you go fooling around again? Oscar grinned nonchalantly and tried to coax him. Grandpa, I was just racing with a few friends for a bit. Didn't I come home right after? Grandpa stared at him for a long moment, then eventually sighed. Get out. All right. Oscar answered carelessly and went straight upstairs. He didn't notice the complicated look in his grandfather's eyes, a look that meant disappointment and giving up. When the old man turned to Bruno, tall and reliable like a poplar tree, his expression softened, and a gratified smile appeared. Bruno, come to the study with me. Yes, Grandpa. Back in his room, Oscar felt restless and inexplicably irritated. He refreshed his messages, but the pinned chat remained silent. He tapped into it, typed a few heavy words, then deleted them all. He wasn't the one who chased after people. Why was he anxious? Hadn't he said far worse things before? Anyway, within a day, no matter how upset she got, wouldn't she still crawl back? Like a little dog with no sense of security, no matter how many times its owner abandons it. It still returns through wind and rain, wagging its tail, begging for affection, both pitiful and giving him a hidden sense of safety. No matter how he hurt her, she wouldn't leave, right? Oscar finally felt at ease. He calmly went downstairs, faintly hearing his grandfather's voice from the study. Julia and Oscar's childhood engagement. His footsteps paused, but he left as if nothing happened. His mother had mentioned the engagement too. It seemed the decision would be finalized soon. Strangely, although his mouth resisted and complained, deep inside him, secret threads of pleasure quietly sprouted. Oscar subconsciously curved his lips, as long as Julia remained so obedient and well-behaved after marriage. Then let the engagement proceed, just as she wished. Chapter 9. In a private room at Nightfall Club, I was discussing the idea of starting a cosmetics company with my college friend, Emma. She majored in both biology and chemistry, achieving excellent grades throughout university. Now she had decided to start a business, gathered an R&D team, and was seeking investment. With my sharp eye for opportunities, I waved my hand generously and decided to buy in. Emma looked a bit worried. Are you sure you want to invest that much? Aren't you afraid of losing money? I took a sip of my drink and shot her a sideways glance. The fact that your products qualify to appear on my vanity table should already give you confidence. She couldn't hold back her laughter. Aren't you a marketing major? Want to join us and become another corporate slave? I refused without hesitation. I go to bed at 10:30 every night, which means I need to start showering by 9, wash my face, apply sheet masks, cream, eye cream, lip masks, hand masks, and finally body lotion. Then I wake up at 8 to do makeup for 2 hours before heading out for gatherings, afternoon tea, and shopping. I'm rather ambitious, so I also attend finance seminars to hear big bosses share their insights, learn futures trading and stock investment, and I often go to evening events to spot potential investment opportunities. Tell me, how would I have time for a job? Emma stared at me, dumbfounded. So this is what rich people live like? Then I really don't understand. You're someone who has such a clear life plan. How did you end up falling headfirst for a scumbag? Only because we were close could she say something so heartfelt. I raised an eyebrow. Otherwise, where do you think the money I'm investing in you came from? She looked confused, and I didn't explain further. I simply said, don't worry, it won't happen again. After all, Oscar's grandfather had already decided to dissolve my childhood engagement with Oscar. He knew exactly how badly Oscar had treated me all these years, so he was actually pleased to see Bruno and me genuinely liking each other. This way, both families were satisfied. After hearing the news from Bruno, I was so happy I laughed under the covers in the middle of the night. No matter the process, as long as the result was satisfying, that was enough. After Emma recovered from her shock, she became excited and immediately raised her glass to me. That's truly wonderful news. This drink is for wishing us success in both career and love. I clinked my glass with hers, producing a clear and pleasant chime. Cheers. Chapter 10. Just as I finished chatting and was ready to head home, I coincidentally received a call from Oscar. I saw you're at Nightfall. Come to room 301. He assumed I wouldn't refuse and hung up immediately. I had been about to block him, but after a moment of thought, I turned around and went back. I needed to tell him the good news. After all, otherwise, if more misunderstandings spread and made me look like a joke, that wouldn't be ideal. With a small smile, composed and unhurried, I pushed open the door to 301. The first thing I saw was that same racing girl beauty from before, sitting in Oscar's lap with red, tearful eyes. He was gently comforting her, wiping her tears with obvious distress. When she saw me, she clung tighter to Oscar's waist, as if claiming her territory. The room fell silent. When I looked around, a few of his buddies looked uncomfortable, How convenient, these were exactly the people I had been in contact with. Oscar spoke in a natural tone. All right. Even if I get engaged to her, it won't affect my relationship with you. The racing girl sniffled softly. Then keep your word. My eyes hurt just from watching this. I couldn't even be bothered to act anymore. I rolled my eyes. Pause. Can someone explain who's getting engaged to who? The girl glared at me. Julia, what are you pretending for? Aren't you thrilled? Oscar already said it. Getting engaged to you is just something the family wants. He doesn't like you at all. Oscar let out a light chuckle and turned to look at me. You've chased me for so many years. Fulfilling that childish engagement wouldn't be bad. As long as you agree that after marriage, we each do our own thing and don't interfere. How about it? He casually held the proud girl in his arms, speaking with a frivolous tone. Anyway, wealthy family marriages are all like this. You don't mind, right? The room instantly fell so silent you could hear a pin drop. Everyone's eyes were on me, trying to find embarrassment on my face. But I only paused, looking conflicted. I mean, the conditions are tempting, but it seems your brother doesn't agree. He snapped his head toward me, slowly pulling out a ridiculous smile. What does my brother have to do with this? I pretended to be shocked. You don't know? Grandpa already canceled that childish engagement. Oscar froze, staring straight at me. The racing girl blinked, then brightened with joy. Oscar, you don't have to marry her. That's great. No sooner had she said it than she was shoved aside. Nearly falling, she stared in disbelief. Oscar? Get lost. Being such a kind person, naturally I couldn't bear to see such a scene, so I quickly stepped in to mediate. Oh dear, Oscar, why are you yelling at your girlfriend? She's not my girlfriend. Oscar's voice was full of irritation, and on closer listen, even a slight tremble. Julia, what do you mean? What does this have to do with my brother? I revealed a perfectly timed shy expression. I'm with your brother now. I came today just to tell you the good news. And seeing your relationship with Amanda going so well, I feel relieved. The racing girl cried out at me. My name is Emma. I shrugged. Oh, he has too many girlfriends. I mixed them up. Oscar frowned deeply at me, then suddenly laughed. You don't need to make up such a clumsy lie. I covered my mouth dramatically. You don't believe me? We grew up together. You should at least trust me a little, right? But fine. Considering I'll be your cousin-in-law someday, I won't argue. You can call your brother right now and ask him, or grandpa. It's not like I'm making this up. Oscar went completely still. The color drained from his face little by little, especially after noticing the certainty in my expression. The curve of his lips slowly stretched into a sharp, straight line. Cousin-in-law? You changed your feelings so easily? Then what were these 5 years you spent for me? I looked confused. What feelings? You didn't think I actually liked you, did you? I treated you well only because of our engagement. You're funny. I give without asking for anything. And now you're scolding me? Under his furious, shattered stare, I gently yawned. Goodbye, everyone. I'm going home to sleep. Bang. A loud shatter of a bottle hitting the floor exploded behind me. I didn't even pause my steps. Chapter 11. When I saw Bruno outside the club, I was a bit surprised. Why are you here? He took off his coat and draped it over my shoulders, then naturally took my hand. Isn't picking up my girlfriend the proper thing to do? That rare, unfamiliar feeling stirred something inside my chest. Before I could even react, he had already led me into the car. I couldn't help finding it funny. I actually drove here. I'll call a driver for you. I glanced at him. His expression didn't change as he explained. The temperature in my car is your favorite, 26 degrees. It's warmer. Hearing that, my curiosity opened up. By the way, how do you know so much about what I like? You weren't close to me before, right? Bruno raised his eyes and looked at me quietly. The warmth in them seemed even stronger than the temperature inside the car. My throat moved slightly. The atmosphere was perfect. Unfortunately, my phone vibrated at the worst possible moment. I opened it without thinking, and Oscar's message filled the screen. Do you think Bruno will still like you after he finds out about your real identity? Fake rich daughter? Break up with him. You're still my fiancé. My eyelid twitched. So he did find out. Back then, after receiving the report, I hadn't handled it properly and left it in my backpack. And Oscar often put snacks and milk in my backpack. Thinking carefully, our relationship had flipped right after that paternity test. The Oscar from before would take over all my classroom duties, wait for me every day before and after school, and carrying my backpack had become second nature to him. When others teased him for being whipped, he would glance carefully at my expression first. Only after confirming I wasn't upset would he lift the corners of his lips with proud satisfaction. Say it again. I love hearing it. It's a pity things ended like this, but also inevitable. After he learned the truth about my background, he thought my kindness toward him was just me trying to climb the social ladder. I also sensed the change in his attitude, so obvious anyone could see it. And eventually we grew tired of each other. I let out a long breath, unexpectedly feeling relieved. The guillotine finally dropped, but I was no longer the confused girl I had been the day I learned the truth. Through the years, I'd worked hard, building my own big house brick by brick. My shattered pride and dignity, I had pieced them back together bit by bit. Now, I can shield myself from wind and rain. Chapter 12. I even smiled calmly as I showed the chat screen to Bruno. He's right. I am a fake rich daughter. Who knows what my future fate will be? You can think it over again if you want. His expression revealed nothing, and his voice was light. Mind if I replied to him? I paused. He took the phone from my hand, his long fingers tapping quickly across the screen. When he handed it back, I saw the message he sent. Idiot. The one who had the childhood engagement with you was the real rich daughter. What does that have to do with me? Sorry. Oscar, looks like you just happened to like this fake one. What was with that wavy tilde at the end? The corner of his lips curved slightly. Sorry. I've cursed him in my heart many times already, and I've known about this for a long time. He couldn't make up his mind. So he told me. I told him to keep it secret. My brows moved. Why? First, it's your secret and your family matter. Whether to tell or not is something you should decide. Second, even if it had to be said, that wasn't the right time. It wouldn't have been good for you. My lips curved upward. So, is now the right time? He looked at me, and in his obsidian eyes flickered faint points of starlight. Of course, you already have the right to choose. Your future is in your own hands now. I asked casually. Then can I also choose not to marry you? Bruno was silent for 2 seconds. He lowered his gaze, his tone soft and slow. You can. You and I don't have a childhood engagement. I burst into laughter. But actually, what he said wasn't entirely true. Even if I didn't marry into his family, my parents would marry me into another wealthy family. Even the biological daughters in high society can't escape arranged marriages, let alone an adopted daughter like me. And emotionally, logically, I truly cannot cut ties with that family. The grace of being raised outweighs the grace of birth. And they never mistreated me. On the contrary, they gave me a prosperous life. If they hadn't adopted me, my life probably wouldn't be so good now. I do owe them. Besides, judging from any angle, Bruno's overall capability surpasses others of his age. I'm making a profit here. I looked out the window and said softly, no need. Things are pretty good as they are. Through the reflection in the glass, I could literally see Bruno light up with visible energy. His lips lifted, but he forced them back down out of pride. Julia, you've never asked me what I like about you. I never cared to ask. Growing up, plenty of people lined up to hand me love letters. It was all the same. I'm pretty, have a good figure, disciplined, excellent. My only flaw was probably that I used to be too spoiled. But I still played along and asked, then what do you like about me? He glanced at me, a faint smile of delight appearing on his lips. The answer is in that diary. You didn't read it carefully. How am I supposed to read French? Chapter 13. When I got home, my parents were sitting on the living room sofa waiting for me. Their faces were filled with joy as they called me over to sit. My dad said, Oscar's grandfather just called. Tomorrow our two families will discuss you and Oscar. Most likely, the engagement will be confirmed. I paused for a moment, then told them the truth. Actually, it's the opposite. The engagement is supposed to be cancelled. The smile on my dad's face froze instantly. What do you mean? My mom frowned at me. Julia, did you make Oscar angry again? I looked at them quietly and sighed. Mom, Dad, you can't cover fire with paper forever. I've known for a long time that I'm not your biological daughter. Their expressions changed at the same time. They exchanged a glance, shock clearly visible in each other's eyes. I also know Mom gave birth to a stillborn child back then, and because you were counting on that childhood engagement to bring benefits to the family, you adopted me to take the place of your real daughter. My mom's eyes instantly turned red, thinking of the past. She became nervous and flustered. Julia, but we never mistreated you. We truly raised you like our own daughter. My dad was silent for a moment before speaking in a serious tone. Did you tell Oscar's grandfather? I shook my head and met his eyes without fear. Of course not. You never treated me badly. Why would I go against our family? And besides, you gave me a good life for more than 20 years. I've always remembered that kindness. So if you need me to marry for the family, I am willing. My dad had just begun to relax when I added. But Oscar knows about it too. That's why he dislikes me so much and refuses the engagement. His anger surged again, stuck somewhere between rising and falling, turning his face red. Then his grandfather must have found out too. I calmly took a sip of water. Even if Grandpa knows, he only knows I'm not the biological daughter. He won't know the details of what happened back then. You just need to embellish the story properly. For example, Dad loved Mom so much he was afraid she couldn't handle the truth. So you adopted me and planned to treat me like a real daughter for life. If that gets out, it would sound like an act of virtue. They exchanged another glance, joy appearing in their eyes. After a long moment, my dad sighed. What a pity the engagement with their family didn't work out. From his expression, I could already tell he was calculating which other family to approach. So I said calmly, if Oscar won't work, there's still Bruno. My mom frowned. He is an outstanding child. But Grandpa will announce him as the next heir, and we're already together. They immediately brightened with happiness, transferring money to me, cooking late-night snacks for me with their own hands. It almost felt like the early days when they lifted me in the palms of their hands like a treasured princess. Unfortunately, those days were long gone. I remembered watching Mom and Dad dote on my younger brother, the whole family laughing together, while I stood at the doorway, lost and unsure how to exist in that home. Looking back now, treating them as business partners, mutual cooperation, mutual benefit, is just fine. Chapter 14. The next day, our whole family went to visit Oscar's home. My dad and his grandfather chatted in the study for a while. When they came out, both had smiles on their faces and behaved warmly toward each other. One exchanged glance, and it was settled. Bruno's mother was clearly satisfied with me as well, and she asked a servant to take me to see Bruno's room. I couldn't refuse, so I followed and went upstairs. His room was exactly what I imagined, gray and white tones, clean and tidy. Then I saw that familiar notebook again, and my eyelid twitched. Now I finally understood why Bruno gave me that meaningful smile earlier. I opened a translation app and scanned it without much expression. But the next second, I froze in place. To the proud yet kind young lady, I like how arrogantly you ordered someone to dye their hair back. I also like how you pretended to be indifferent while giving dance shoes to a student from a poor family. But what I love most is how you never pretend to be obedient, how you unapologetically stay true to yourself. Julia, I will always love your pride and your freedom. My eyes curved into a smile unconsciously. Back in freshman year of high school, a boy in our class dyed his hair red. If the student council saw it, it would lower the class's evaluation. That didn't matter for rich kids, but for students from poor families, it could cost them scholarships. I saw a classmate crying quietly, so I went to the boy and gave him money to dye it back. He asked defiantly, "Why should I?" I scoffed, "Because you're an eyesore to me." Later, he really did dye it back. That day I found a piece of chocolate and a sticky note that said thank you in my desk. As for the ballet shoes, there was a girl who had practiced ballet for years, but her family suddenly encountered difficulties, so she planned to give up her dream. I sent her a pair of ballet shoes and sponsored her with money. Oh, and now she's the youngest principal dancer in her troupe. We're still very close. So Bruno had been quietly watching me for so long. As I kept reading, smiling, tears suddenly fell. Some people only liked me when I was obedient and lowered my head. Some people wanted to watch me fall from the clouds and crumble into the dust. But only he admired me as I truly was. How could my heart not be moved? Chapter 15. Julia. Oscar's voice came from the doorway. I closed the notebook and wiped the corner of my eyes with my palm facing upward. When I turned around, Oscar had already stepped inside and closed the door. His black hair fell messily over his forehead. None of his usual arrogance remained. In his eyes, shadows had taken root. His jaw was tense as he walked toward me step by step. Are you with him because he became the heir? I leisurely admired how pathetic he looked. So what if I am? And what if I'm not? His eyes brightened for a moment, and his voice came out anxious. If I take back that position, could you? Why didn't you become the heir earlier then? Don't tell me it's because you didn't want to. I circled around him, like observing a monkey at the zoo. Look in the mirror. In terms of ability and character, which part of you beats your brother? You've been a pampered crown prince for so many years you've completely forgotten your own worth, haven't you? Even if the family were handed to you, the only outcome would be bankruptcy. Please, don't ruin your own family. Wouldn't it be better to continue partying with your girlfriend? He looked at me quietly, his eyes slowly turning red. At this moment, my sharp, cutting words reminded him of the past. Back then, when he skipped class, I would scold him so fiercely he was left bruised all over, verbally and emotionally. But back then, it came from deep feelings and sincere care. Now, it came from standing on the opposite side, harsh humiliation toward an enemy. Truly, how things change. With a sharp click, the door swung open. Bruno saw him, his brows cold and stern. What are you doing here? Oscar's expression tightened. He strode forward and grabbed Bruno's collar harshly. Good for you, Bruno. I trusted you so much. And you dared to covet Julia? Didn't you know I've liked her since we were kids? Bruno let out a soft laugh, then suddenly punched him hard in the face. Your way of liking someone is humiliating and trampling on her? Truly eye-opening. Oscar grunted as he hit the ground, the corner of his lip split and bleeding. He wiped the blood carelessly, glaring at Bruno with hatred. Bruno looked down at him with a half-smile. Love isn't weighing pros and cons, and it's definitely not doubting and testing. Loving someone is feeling pain for them without reason, and trying every possible way to get close. I was gone for 3 years, and you managed to ruin a perfect hand of cards. Truly pathetic. Oscar tugged at the corner of his lips, murmuring like a lost soul. Yeah. I'm really stupid. I stared at Bruno, stunned, the tip of my nose growing slightly sore. He turned to me, unmistakable warmth flickering in his eyes. They're discussing our engagement downstairs. Will you come with me? I didn't hesitate anymore. I reached for his hand, interlocking our fingers. Let's go. Chapter 16. It wasn't until a month later that I heard news about Oscar again. On the day of our engagement banquet, he didn't show up. But that night, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. I was in the middle of pushing Bruno down, ready to get things started. His eyes were tinged red, 2 buttons of his shirt undone, his strong chest rising and falling slightly, honestly. Incredibly sexy. But that phone call kept ringing relentlessly. Annoyed, I picked up. What do you want? The voice on the other end sounded like she was crying. Julia, can you come to the hospital to see Oscar? After hearing you were getting engaged, he's been drinking himself to death. Now he's still unconscious. I paused. Oh, Amanda. She was silent for 2 seconds before she screamed in breakdown. I'm Emma, I said impatiently. Doesn't matter. Aren't you Oscar's girlfriend? Why call me? Don't you know I'm getting engaged today? No sense of timing at all? If it's that serious, I'll transfer you some money. Go buy him a fruit basket. I'm busy. Bye. I tossed the phone aside and pounced again. A certain man let out a small snort and turned his face away. You're not going to the hospital to see him? I curled my lips. Once we got together, I realized how jealous Bruno actually was. Those few backup options for arranged marriage who sent me congratulations. He accidentally saw the messages. He didn't show anything on his face. But that night he tried every method possible to torment me. He'd lure me halfway up the mountain, neither up nor down. then bite my ear and ask for the answer he wanted before continuing. Tonight, it was my turn to stir trouble on purpose. I stood up and leisurely smoothed out the wrinkles of my dress. You're right. Since we grew up together, I should go see him. Just as I turned to leave, the world spun. My body was suddenly pressed down onto the soft bed. In an instant, the roles reversed. Bruno's expression was tense as he pinned my wrists firmly. The veins on his arms bulged with strength and restraint, dangerously alluring. I laughed teasingly. He lowered his head and kissed me hard, conquering every inch. You're not allowed to go to him. Between our tangled breaths, I whispered into his ear. Back then, when you pretended to be cold and indifferent toward me, you were practically dying of jealousy inside, weren't you? Bruno. He didn't respond with words, but he spent the whole night telling me just how jealous he truly had been.